Okay, welcome everyone to this the Profitable Steward podcast in this masterclass. We're grateful to have Casey Seber here with us this afternoon, and thank you for those that are watching here live, those that are listening to the replay, watching it on YouTube or listening to it on the podcast channels. We appreciate the support that you give us and your commitment to regeneration and to being profitable stewards. Casey is a great young man. He's created a great company. He and I met, I think, at an ag conference down in St. George, and I was a speaker and he was a vendor, and I was just like pretty impressed with him. And then watched him on social media, and we've crossed paths a few other times, and have not yet got him to do any work out in Nevada, but at some point we will do that. But it looks like he's doing some great things, and even though he sprays, he's not the enemy, you guys. Like he does a lot of like, yeah, maybe there's some chemical coming out of that, but sometime we're gonna get him to spray some biologicals. Have you ever done any biologicals out of your
I
scenes?
absolutely. I push biological more than anything.
Awesome.
Um, Unfortunately, I'm not in a position where I can turn down jobs, not yet. But that is where my heart lies. Um, my wife tells me all the time that we're not in the business for killing things. So
Love it.
unfortunately, we kind of are, but we definitely do a ton of biological. Um, and there's a place out of Tremont, and I just barely heard of them, which is where I grew up. But they're coming out with some really cool biologic, organic, different things for different scenarios that I think will be kind of a hot item. I'm eager to get up there and meet with the owners up there and
Awesome.
kind of have a product that I can push. But right now we deal with Valley Ag, and they have a few products that we use either like we've been doing a bug and boost program with a biological that is actually bumping the sugars up in grasses and legumes, making that plant more resistant to bug pressure. So that's kind of been a new thing this year that I've been super excited about. We've probably sold 600 gallons of that already.
Okay.
So it's people are starting to become more aware of the biological things. Unfortunately, there's so many companies out there that's snake oil, right? They're just it's not what it is. It's not what they say it is. You don't ever see results. Um, but there is some really good biologicals out there, and the one we use it's been awesome.
Cool.
So
That's Yeah, well, that's good to hear, and we get it. Sometimes the bread and butter is in the chemical side, but let's back up and tell us. I guess first of all, tell us where you're from. Maybe tell us a little bit about your family, and then we'll jump into more of the business of what you're actually doing, Casey.
okay, yeah. So I'm Casey Seber. I own Mountain Meadow Ag. We started out as Mountain Meadow Seed, and then incorporated drones. Uh, Blessed my wife's heart when I pitched her the idea of, we were coming into my slow season in seed, and I said, "Hey, I really think we ought to get a drone." And she looked at me like I was crazy. But I said, "No, I really think that this drone is going to just complement the seed business." Um, and we got four little kids, and we live in a little tiny community. And I don't know if you know where Loa, Utah is, but we live right there. So this is home. It's a long ways away from nothing.
Yep.
And people ask me all the time, why did I start a business in Loa? And I tell them, I will gladly drive 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours, and have my home base in Loa and raise my kids in Wayne County here. And um, but yeah, we're
Uh,
based out of here. We have two crews,
okay.
and so this is home base. We did have a crew in Tremont. That's where I grew up.
Okay.
Um, we do a lot of work up there, have a lot of relationships up there, and but he just took a ranch job. So he just left
Oh,
me a couple weeks ago. It stings a little bit. It hurts. He was a great kid, and he loved the job, but his heart laid in ranching, and I couldn't stop him from doing what he really loves to do.
yeah.
So
Well, good,
he's out
good.
he's out in Ely. Aren't you out by Ely?
Yeah, we're a little north of Ely. We're in Ruby Valley, but I mean that's the same. We're
Okay.
basically neighbors. That's where
Yeah.
my wife's folks live, is down in White Pine County in Ely area. So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
I thought you was out in that country,
yeah,
but
yeah. That's good. So I guess how long have you been spraying? When did you buy your first drone, and kind of how's the business progressed and grown from drone one to
yeah.
now three? You were saying?
Yeah, we got three now. Yep, three drones. Um, and if I could figure out how to get licensed out in Nevada, I could maybe bring on another drone. The kid that used to work for me, he works 410s out at the ranch, and he's brought some great ideas where he could work on the weekends. But
Uh-huh.
Nevada's tough. Nevada's tough to get licensed out there. So
Okay.
we're working on it. But um, let's see. I bought my first drone not this last February. Well, we started. So I bought the drone in November, not last November, but the November before. And then all the regulations and the testing and licenses and everything. Our very first flight was February 16th. Or no, sorry, February 12th.
Okay.
Um, and it was a roller coaster. The learning curve with a drone is pretty high. There's a lot of variables that these guys that sell drones don't tell you.
Yeah.
So it just kind of learn as you fly. Um, but yeah, fast forward to today, we got two trucks, two trailers, three drones.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty neat. And I think maybe we'll come back to the business side, but maybe tell us a little bit about like what you do with your drones, how much is chemical, how much is seed, and because you can do both, right? You can or
Yep.
and even dry fertilizer, or kind of what
Yeah.
applications do you do?
It all kind of hits. It's in waves, right? We do. So I sell seed. That's where this started.
Okay.
We were a seed dealership. Um, and so, yeah, we spread a lot of seed with the drones. They do a phenomenal job. Drills, especially like no-till drills, I get called all the time. Hey, what do I set this at? And I said, well, I don't have a manual for your Great Plains drill. I don't know.
Yeah.
We kind of take a seed out of the mix that we created and kind of base the drill off of that. But these drones, when I do a seed mix, we put 50 pounds in the drone, we hit calibrate, it'll run that 50 pounds out through the drone, and then it tells me exactly if I want to put it down at 20 pounds to the acre, it will be 19.8 to 20.2 pounds, the whole mission. So
Hmm.
you're right there. If you bought 2,000 pounds of seed, you would use 2,000 pounds of seed. Um, so it's really neat in that side of things with the drone. Um,
Hmm.
Same with fertilizer. Any dry matter, um, it's the same way to calibrate it. You switch
Okay.
over to the spray side of things. Um, it's they use an atomizer for the chemical instead of pressure and droplets, right? So is what that does is it spins the water and the chemical or the biological or whatever, and it creates little BBs. And so they're concentrated drops instead of a
Yeah.
mist spray.
Okay.
Um, so timing of the year, we do a ton of seed. I would say we probably do more acres of seed or spike just because those jobs are bigger jobs, right?
Mhm.
So typically when we're spraying, we're coming in on 40 to 150 acre pieces. Typically when we do seed, we're doing 500 acres to 1,500 acres. Our biggest job we done was 2,600 acres. Um, and so it just, if you went acre for acre, I would say we probably have more experience spreading seed.
Okay.
Um, but then you get into the summer, and I really like to push cover crops for these guys that graze their corn. We can go in, the corn gets up, and we can go in and broadcast cover crop, turnips, radishes, vetch, annual ryegrass. And then when they take that corn off to graze their cows, they have an amazing pasture. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really starting to track this year. We did a few fields last year. This year once we get into August, we'll do even more. But we've
Okay.
done 2 fields, 3 fields already this year.
Yeah.
So,
How does the production
but
on aerial seeding versus no-till compare? And is there an application where it
it
works and one where it doesn't?
well, a lot of people think, right? We deal with a lot of different variety of customers. We've spread seed in downtown Salt Lake, no kidding.
Wow.
And
Huh.
so this lady, it was lawn seed she had a fairly large yard. I should say it was Mill Creek. Um, and no prep work, no nothing. She just thought if you put seed out, you would have the Garden of Eden. And we
Mm-hmm.
kind of have that in some of the dry land situations where people think all they got to do is pay for the seed, pay for the application, and they're going to get the Garden of Eden. That's not necessarily the case. No-till drills are amazing because it does everything at the same time, right? If you put grass seed any deeper than a quarter of an inch, there's a high chance you're not going to see that grass come up.
Mm-hmm.
With a no-till drill, you put it in and it rolls it right into the soil, right? And that's half of what you need. You need that seed to soil contact. So I
Yeah.
tell people, one, if they have the time and if they have the equipment, go out and just create a seed bed. Just rough up the dirt, make sure it's not tight. We can come in, fly the seed, and then if they have a roller, to roll it. And then if they have water, obviously to water it.
Sure.
Because even dry land seed likes a drink too.
Yep.
So, um, but yeah, there's been instances like we do a lot of stuff where you just can't get equipment and it's just raw. You just straight up broadcast. And if you can time it right, then you can see great results just with Mother Nature's help. Um, so it the drone has been good in a lot of aspects to where you can't get equipment. Um,
Okay.
so it's saving those guys a ton of time and effort of getting on a four-wheeler with you can put 50 pounds in at a time and go. Hopefully you're tracking on the same tracks, getting your swath right and everything, but
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't always. That's a little harder way. Um, but yeah, I still like a no-till drill. I won't say a drone is any better than a no-till drill, but
Sure.
I will argue that a drone following, if growers will then do their part as well, then a drone is every bit as good as a no-till drill.
Okay.
So
Yeah. What rate does it make sense to maybe not use a drone, or is there? Because I mean, some of these cover crop seeds or grain seeds, you're planting like a lot of pounds per acre, right? Is that
right.
feasible with the drone?
So we can go if I mean you could go 50 pounds to the acre. Grain, if you're getting up in there to 100, 120 pounds to the acre, that's pretty hard for a drone. I have to charge more money for that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and typically in that setting, they already have the tractors, they already have the drills. It doesn't
Yeah.
really make sense to use a drone. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we're trying to cover crop, right, we throw in oats or something and we put it in there at 25, 30 pounds, and they've already got some some crops coming, then it makes perfect sense because you don't want to drive over the top of it. You don't want to compact your soil.
Mm-hmm.
It makes perfect sense. The drones can handle it. Um, The heaviest we've done is 100 pounds to the acre, and it was a workout. We
No
have
bet.
done fertilizer at 200 pounds to the acre, but we just split it up. We went 100 pounds to the acre, flew the whole map, and then we just went 100 pounds to the acre and flew it the opposite way.
Okay.
Um, and so when we do that, we either have to charge enough up front, so typically on a spray job or say 20 pounds to the acre of seed, we're at $15 an acre.
Okay.
So we would double that, right? We're going to fly it twice, essentially. You'd be $30 an acre. So
Okay.
some growers have no problem paying $30 an acre, and some growers are like, whoa, $30 an
Yeah.
acre, and it's the same thing with when we do like that biological, we like to put it down at 5 gallons to the acre. And some people want to go 10 gallons to the acre, and that's equivalent as to spreading 100 pounds to the acre. So I have to charge more
Right.
for that.
Right.
But
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. So five, yeah, if it's any more than that, the biologicals that we did, and maybe Scott Merrill can talk to this here in a bit because he's kind of got us hooked on that. But we are at 15 gallons per acre, and I think you and I visited about that. The feasibility of aerial versus a ground rig versus a plane,
yeah,
and the time factors into that as well. And so,
for
um,
sure.
what kind of um, you're based in the West, so primarily, or I guess you're licensed in Idaho and Utah. Are those
Yeah,
only two states that you can apply in?
yeah,
Yeah. So
yep.
tell us a little bit about like
And
who your main customers are. Are they farmers? Are they ranchers? Are they
oh, I would say it's a really good mix. It just depends on the time of year.
okay.
We really help the ranchers out fall and winter and sometimes early spring, and then we're really helping the farmers out, you know, April through September.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's fun for us because we get to see all different types of country. It's not the same thing every day. Um, but some people have grasshoppers in their rangelands that are eating them down to dirt, and so they call us and say, "Hey, we need your drones. It's too rough for a ground rig. There's not a
Yeah.
ground rig out here that will come out and break their equipment over our grasshoppers." Um, so we've done a lot of that, a lot of grasshoppers on rangeland. Right now, uh, thistle, thistle is a big thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
People don't notice the thistle until it's purple, right? And
Right. Yeah.
so right
Yeah.
now is when they're calling us because it's blooming, coming to a bud, and um, so stuff like that where a lot of it is kind of a concentrated area. You're not going to get a ground rig to come out and hit these little 15-acre pieces, you know, in steep terrain or in a canyon or stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
and the myrtle spurge for some reason this year has been really bad. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so we've been treating that in rangelands. Um, Cheatgrass, we have some applications for cheatgrass, but that usually is early spring or late fall. So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's pretty neat. Did you ever imagine that you'd be doing this when a decade ago? Did you ever think you'd be
no,
a drone
no,
jockey, or drone pilot?
no, no, ag has always been in my blood. But it's funny. I grew up in Tremont, Box Elder County in Utah, very north end of the state, very, very big ag county. Um, I didn't grow up farming. My dad wasn't a farmer. Um,
Okay.
but all my neighbors, I grew up with corn all around me. And about seventh grade, there was a family out there, Gordon Zitto. They owned Zitto's Produce. Uh, and me and David, Gordon's son, were best of friends. So I got to go play on the farm. We were like brothers. I was over there every day. And I just fell in love with agriculture at that point.
Okay.
And as I grew up, it was kind of like, my dad was a welder. He wanted me to be a welder. So I went down that avenue and I quickly learned that I hated welding.
Uh-huh.
I could do it as a hobby, but I didn't want to do it for a job. Um, but I loved interacting with people. So when I worked for that produce stand, we got to sell asparagus. We actually raised asparagus, me and my buddy, little eighth graders at this point, or maybe it was ninth grade. We couldn't drive, but we did. We would get our bundles of asparagus and take it to the local grocery store and sell our asparagus to the grocery stores. And I
Okay.
fell in love with sales at that point because
Uh-huh.
I would go in with my mom to go get groceries, and I would see people thumbing through our asparagus that we sold the grocery store, and it meant everything to me that, hey, we planted that, we nursed it, we picked it, we come up with every bizarre way to pick asparagus you could think of,
Uh-huh.
trying to think of the fastest way. And literally the fastest way to get asparagus is just to go through and pick it.
Uh-huh.
But um, so that's kind of where I fell in love with sales. That kind of led me to, I liked hunting and fishing and camping. And so I went down the RV sales path and then kind
Okay.
of looped back around. And I was an ag inspector for the state of Utah. And so I got to go and see all these businesses, um, like Valley Ag and the co-op and all these guys. And one of the seed companies offered me a job, and then I became a seed salesman. And
Okay.
from there, I was like, yeah, I love this. And my wife said, why you're the outside sales rep, you're never home. Why don't you just try to do it on your own? If you're going to be gone, you just as well reap the benefits. And
Uh-huh.
so that's really what got me in the drones. I would have never thought
Okay.
ever that my seed business was going to turn into an application business. It wasn't even, in fact, the idea came on Halloween.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we were taking the kids trick or treating, and I was in the car with the baby as the older kids went, and I just started scrolling on my phone, and I seen a reel come across of this. It wasn't a helicopter. I was like, "What the heck is that?" And it was a drone. It was a DJI T40 at the time, and it was
Okay.
spraying. And I thought, man, I wonder if that thing could put out seed. And so I dug into it, never even seen a drone until Halloween. And it was November. My anniversary was November 10th. It was November 14th. I placed my order.
Okay.
I just knew as soon as I seen that reel, I knew that I could take that drone and apply the seed that I'm already selling. And then after that, then it was like, well, hey, you want to spray this or you want to spray that? And then it just
Right.
was, I don't know if it's uphill or downhill from there, but it was one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So,
Yeah. And that's not that long ago too, right? I mean, you're just talking
no,
less than 2 years since
yeah,
you started
year and a
into the
half. It
drone
was,
side.
yeah, February
Yeah.
of 23.
Yeah. So we
Yeah,
must have met like right when you were getting started
we did.
at
Yeah,
that ag
I think that
deal.
was in
And
March where we met, and I just started in February.
right. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
At that
That's
conference, actually, was we did our first spray job, and it was a biological that we did down in St. George. That was
oh,
the
really?
first
Okay.
thing. Yeah. So we
Nice.
kind of talked about that learning curve, right?
Yeah.
We're used
Yeah.
to spreading spike and seed at this point,
Uh-huh.
and then we go and put this biological on at 10 gallons to the acre. And boy, we thought we were going to be done with 100 acres in half a day and go home. We didn't
Uh-huh.
get home till 2 o'clock that morning. That's how much slower it is going 10 gallons to the acre.
Okay.
But
Right. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
so huge learning curve. But I feel like we got to figure it out now. But
Yeah. I'll bet. So, um, what do you see? I mean, what's the future for your company? Where's your focus, and what do you see for like the next 3 to 5 years?
you know, I think about this a lot. And it used to be there's getting to be more and more drone applicators. And it really made me nervous. Like, shoot, like what do I got to do to stay ahead of my competition?
Hmm.
And honestly, we just show up, we do a good job, and the phone just keeps ringing. I'm
Hmm.
not doing anything different. Um, for the say even next year, where do we want to be? I would like to have another crew because as it is right now, we're still losing work. We can't get there fast enough. Um,
Hmm.
so I've made great relationships with other drone pilots, and I pass that work on to them, and it's really good. It all kind of um, comes back around. Uh, but I I really think the technology in drones is only going to get better.
Hmm.
Even our first drone was a DJI T40, and now we have two DJI T50s. And then Trump doesn't like China, so he won't let us get DJI. But there's a T60 that's essentially a DJI, and that is an amazing drone.
Uh-huh.
We didn't think the T50 could get any better, and then they come out with a T60. And now there's other drone manufacturers coming out that now they're using lidar instead of radar, and there's going to be somebody that comes up with a battery that the battery life will last an hour. Right now, it lasts 10 to 12 minutes, you know.
Okay.
So bigger tank size, longer battery life, bigger spreader tank. That's the future in drones. And
Hmm.
I think in a sense, you'll see more drone applications coming because you'll just be able to cover more ground, do bigger projects, and the airplanes and the helicopters, they do a great job. They have to fly so fast and they have to, it's not as precise. They still do a
Hmm.
great job, but it's just not near as precise. And I think you're starting to see people really like that precision, you know.
Okay.
And if you're not precise, they're pretty quick to tell you that you were not precise.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's the future in drones is just becoming bigger and better and
Hmm.
only getting more efficient and then only becoming more precise. You know, Technology's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty exciting to see. The application. We're not running drones as big as you are, but we've just got drones to be able to spot cattle and um, sometimes herd cattle, locate cattle.
Yeah,
It's a it's a good tool. It's kind of like you wonder, well, how did I get by without these? Once you
right,
use one and never going to replace the cowboy or good stockmanship or good ecology, but they
right.
certainly can be good tools to enhance that. Do you have
Right.
any experience utilizing like the technology to be able to, and this may be not in your wheelhouse of the spraying, but utilizing the technology that drones have to analyze fields and identify, weed species or even just
Yeah,
different species within fields?
yeah. It's so there's a ton of different software companies coming out. And we actually kind of partner with a guy from the next county over that's using the Mavic Enterprise drone. Excuse me, a multispectral drone, and it's kind of that. What do they call it? The see and shoot or something like that. But basically, you can give it. They call it a magic tool. If you're say you're looking for Canadian thistle, white top, and musk thistle, you
Hmm.
can then take a pixel, take an image with the drone that has all three of those in it. You can save those in the magic tool, and then it can go and fly 500 acres in a matter of 2 hours, and it will then spit out every single musk thistle. What did I tell you? Musk
Yeah,
and
white top and
those weeds. It will
those specific ones.
pick it out.
Wow.
Yeah. And then so instead of blanket spraying your whole property, you can then upload that into the application drone And that application drone takes off, and it will still fly every acre of the field, but it only turns on the sprayers as it knows exactly how fast it's going and when it's coming up, so it doesn't miss it. Because that was my argument: is these drones are smart, but they're not that smart. But they really actually are. They know how fast they're going. The problem is it's still going to throw out a bigger swath than that individual plant. So it will still spray outside of the plant. But the savings on chemical when you're dealing with a Tordon or one of these range sprays, they get pretty pricey.
Sure.
And if you're doing 500 acres, 1,000 acres, but you're only treating 130 acres out of that with chemical, you're saving thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars. So we haven't pulled the trigger on getting our own just because manpower is hard to find, and we are having a hard time keeping up with what we're doing already. So I don't want to advertise that we can do it and then, can't fulfill those promises. And the application side of things, we still have to charge for all the acres, even though we're not applying all the acres, because the drone, in order for that drone to do its job, it still has to cover the whole field.
Okay.
So I think there's just a little bit of gap right there before we want to pull our trigger. If we could get it and it could get a route to where it would only go and hit those spots, those individual weeds or patches or what have you, and I wouldn't have to charge my customer a fee for flying the little drone and then a fee for all the acres that we spray or that we didn't spray, because that's what they say. Well, why am I paying you for X amount of acres when we're only applicating this amount of acres? So I think there's just a little disconnect, but the technology will get there. I have every bit of faith that it will.
Yeah. That is so cool. Wayne asked a question about the Google lightweight AI-driven vehicles that can target weeds on an individual basis. Does drone still a better option, and especially like in wet field application? And that's something I don't know if you can speak to that. That's outside of my awareness.
Yeah, I've only ever seen it. I've never been around one. It's pretty cool. The technology is really cool. My biggest argument with that would be, they're pretty small machines. And they're really meant for the neatest farmer with not a single rock in his field. And being in the West, it just doesn't happen. People are breaking equipment all the time because that rock wasn't there the year before, but it's there this year.
Yeah.
And I feel like then Google bots, basically, I think we'll have a hard time navigating in the West, just different terrain types. I don't think you could ever use it in a rangeland setting. There's just too many. It's kind of the same thing as a wheeled sprayer, right? You can't get a wheeled motorized sprayer in range ground most of the time. It's just too rough. I mean, one badger hole is going to swallow that Google bot.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
And I mean, who knows where that thing would go? It could probably go a long ways. But,
technologies can be pretty awesome. It can be a good tool for sure.
Hey, Jared, this is Wayne. I got a PC that does have a microphone now.
Oh, perfect. Thanks. Any other context? Did you hear?
I heard everything. Casey, all I got to say is Ponte.
Hey, thanks, Wayne. Yeah. How you doing, Wayne?
I'm doing very well. Man.
Good. Good.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Thanks for jumping on
this business out here on the East Coast, and you were my inspiration. So I'm following you. The terrain that we have out here in Pennsylvania, Virginia. My biggest concern is if I'm going to do this as somebody that has no agricultural background. Working on my pilot's license right now for drones. Need to get the insurance, need to get the spraying licensing for the different states. Because I sort of sit in the corridor here where I could hit Virginia, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Maryland. So there's lots of different regulations in those areas. But the biggest question that I have, I can deal with that. I don't need an answer for that. What the biggest thing is that I'm seeing is the moment that I'm deciding to do this, the best drones out there, they're pulling out. The DJI is pulling out. And what are my options?
Yeah. And I wouldn't believe all the hype. There's going to be, and you're already seeing it. There's a back door to pretty much everything. Like DJI now has a drone that's not called DJI, but it is very much a DJI drone. And I would just say, don't buy the newest, biggest, like J100 just came out, EA Vision. It's a great drone. It does the majority of people a really good job, but it's a brand new drone. And there's a lot of bugs to fix out of it. And there's a lot of downtime. If you're a commercial applicator, downtime is your worst enemy. Either that's due to equipment or due to weather, but you have a crew out there that you're paying, and now they have to drive back home because of either equipment failure or weather. I would not buy the biggest, baddest drone. I would buy, if you're going to get started, I would buy a drone that has acres on it, because you know that it has X amount of acres on it. So it has flew really good for X amount of acres. That's, I had a brand new drone. I had no idea how to run it. I took my pilot's test. But I learned more about airplanes than I did drones.
And I'm going through
so
studying right now.
The guy I bought my drone from, he's in Iowa or Indiana. He come all the way to Utah to show me how to fly it. It's like a fire hose of information. He left, and then we started our job that very next week. I forgot everything, including how do I get this sucker off the ground, And so there's just a lot. So for Wayne, I would tell you, I wouldn't worry so much about the biggest, best equipment. I would buy a drone that has some acres under it, because that drone has worked and worked good. And they're probably buying the biggest, baddest drone.
Sure.
For you, I would definitely say, because we're seeing it in Utah, everybody was so quick to get a pilot's license. Everybody was so quick to buy a drone, and they just thought this was going to be quick, easy money. And it's definitely not. And these guys their drones are basically grounded because they're not getting the phone calls. They're guys that don't know anything about agriculture. They know about business and they want to make money, but they don't know about agriculture. And agriculture you can read a lot and learn a lot, but boots on the ground, agriculture is the very best type of agriculture for your knowledge. So I would say right now, before you get a drone, talk to a couple farmers. Say, hey, can I come? You guys change pipe out there? Or everything's under, you guys probably don't even irrigate. You get enough rain.
No irrigation in your context. Yeah. Imagine, Wayne, it's just waiting on rain. Huh?
We don't have pivots out here.
Right. So, but I would learn why they choose a grass over a legume, or why they choose a grain over a legume, or, kind of get their farming practices learned, so that when you step onto their property with a drone to offer them an application service, you already know what you have to offer. And that's the biggest thing you can do to your customer. Be a consultant for them, and not just an applicator, because they already have applicators. There's already applicators out there. But if you take the spin off of it, is become basically an agronomist. Understand what soils do what, and if you mix this seed with this seed, what it does and why you should do it. That's where you're going to get your customer base. Because anybody, a monkey can fly these drones. All you got to do is hit go,
By and large.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Good comments. Thanks, Wayne. Well, let's switch gears here a little bit. And then if other people have questions, go ahead. We can take some questions, or you can throw them in the chat.
Okay.
So talk a little bit about building your business, Casey. Like, what are the principles that you have found that have helped you to be able to scale as fast as you have, and build a good team, and definitely you have a brand, and you guys have it seems like a very clear mission of what you're wanting to accomplish. So can you speak to those things?
Yeah. So when I started my seed company, it was just me. And I knew I mean, Ranger alfalfa is Ranger alfalfa, right? How do you compete with the next guy's Ranger alfalfa? It's the same. It's the same variety. One might test a little higher, one might have less weeds. And that's with every variety of seed. So when I went out on my own, my wife had made the comment like, well, what sets you apart? And I said, well, I think I have, a better knowledge than if you went down to the local co-op and he just is selling you the next hottest seed. I think by me going and visiting with my grower, boots on the ground, we can kind of look at what their operation has been. And with me studying this or studying that, I could suggest a different type of seed, or suggest the seed that is the hottest seed on the market for that year. And so I kind of took that mentality and ran with it on the application side too. We could cover a lot more acres if we didn't care about our reputation. Farmers and ranchers spend a lot of money. And I mean, I've seen it, I've grown up in it. And so when we come onto somebody's property, we want to do the very best job. They're paying us a lot of money. And if we miss an area, or if we fly too fast and we don't get the proper spread or the proper pattern, because these drones are smart, right? But you can outsmart them to get acreage. And my team from day one, me as an example, I make sure they know the drone doesn't go as wide and fast as it can. That's not how we operate. They do get paid a commission on every acre, but they know that we're doing it right. And so they know, depending on what we're doing, we either slow down or bring in our swath. And I think just doing that with every job that we do has built that reputation that, hey, Mountain Meadow Ag is the real deal. Mountain Meadow Ag will do you right. If I say the price is this, we don't then, change our price. Unless a lot of guys tell you their ground is nice and flat and easy flying, and we show up and it's like 2-to-1 slopes, then I have to have that conversation like, hey, this is tricky. Like, we're putting our drones' life at stake here. So I have to charge a little bit. That risk factor is there. Or power lines. We always ask, hey, is there power lines on the field? Well, there's one, but it's only in the corner. You show up and it's 3/4 of the way through the project, It just slows us way down. It brings the risk factor of the drone. Drones and power lines do not like each other. Yeah. And then, so that's just a few examples of me having to say, hey, I'm going to have to charge you a little extra for this. That's always a conversation we have before we start. It's not like all of a sudden they got their invoice and it was more than we talked about. I think just integrity, just having that integrity really has helped me scale my business, because it gets to the point where we can't keep up with the work, and it's either pass that work along or figure it out. And
Mm-hmm.
by figuring it out, it was, hey, let's get another drone. Let's find another guy. And man, it's scary, and I'll be the first one to tell you, we grew so fast. I didn't know how to handle it.
Okay.
I really didn't know, and I still don't. It's tough. Last year was me and one guy, and I was
Yeah.
gone. I didn't see my wife and kids. I was leaving the house at 4:30 in the morning, and I wasn't getting home till 11. And I spent
Yeah.
all summer that way. And so it made me, I kept telling my wife, I have this dream. I have this dream. We're going to build this to where I can be at home. And am I still going to be busy? Absolutely. But I want to build it to where we can have guys flying the drones and we're busy enough that I have to be in the office. I'm out, boots on the ground, getting the next job, but I'm home at dinner. And
Yeah.
that was my biggest goal. That was my biggest push to scale so that I had time with my family.
Awesome.
But in doing so, it's so hard to keep track of 3 drones. It is.
Yeah.
You bring on 3 drones, you bring on 3 times the amount of work, you bring on 3 times the amount of invoices, 3 times the amount of chemical or seed, or you have vendors, and I mean it is a hard thing to keep track of.
I'll
So
bet. Yeah.
we're still in growing pains. We're still trying to navigate and learn, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's typical, but it sounds like you're prevailing. Certainly some learning curves. Have there been any major wrecks, any learning experiences you want to share? Things that are like,
no, man,
yeah,
we could
the
talk a
school of
whole
hard
nother
knocks.
hour on learning experiences, but we've had our fair share of crashes. And
Uh-huh.
two of the worst crashes are from yours truly right here. That's I wish I could blame it on my guys, but we've had one really bad crash, and it was just you get complacent. And I was watching one drone over here, and my drone was headed out over here. It was Christmas Eve. My wife told me not to go to work, but I had to get this job done so we could get to the next one. And we were about halfway done with our day, and that drone hit the top of a cliff face. Luckily, it somersaulted it up on top where we were actually spreading seed, but it full tank of seed. It was heavy. It completely ripped the landing gear off, broke 2 arms, broke every propeller. I mean, so yes, we've hit tree branches, we've hit power lines, you know, but yeah, it's there, and it's just part of it. I
Yeah.
can't get mad
Yeah.
at my guys. I can't get mad at my guys. They do a really good job, phenomenal job. And I just have to know, like, when the phone call or when the phone rings and it's one of them at a weird time, just take a deep breath. The drone will be able to be fixed because they're calling that either a pump went out or a propeller broke or they crashed or just
Yeah.
something. But
Yeah.
definitely, employees are a whole nother ball of wax. I love them,
Yep.
but man, they can sure boil your blood sometimes. So, yep,
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Thanks for being candid and sharing. I mean, I think any business owner could say something similar, whether they're dealing with
yeah,
equipment or people or livestock. We're all
yeah,
going to have those wrecks, and that's what's going to give us the experience and build our character and help us hopefully that we don't make the same mistake again. Like
yeah, for
we can
sure.
fail in a different way next time. But
Yeah, yep.
any,
And that's in a service-based business, that's the hardest part is because I'm scheduling 2 weeks out right now. And then just
yeah,
one minor setback, it just is like a roller
gross,
coaster of people I got to call and say, we're supposed to be to
coming
you on
late.
this day. Now you're going to be this day. You got 15, 20 customers you got to contact and let them know. And luckily, my customer base are farmers and ranchers, and they know better than anybody that a day in the field is not concrete. You don't know what it's going to bring.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but when you have that happen in conjunction with the next day's bad weather, and then the next day is too windy or whatever. There's a million scenarios. Then they're like, okay, am I ever going to get done here? And
Yeah.
that's when I start to stress out and I start to like, holy, I'm going to lose my mind. What do I do? I'm only one guy. But
Hmm.
if it's anything I've learned, you can only do what you can do. And if you lose a job, you lose a job. There's somebody else to take its place. And for me, I didn't want to lose any job. I didn't want to lose. I didn't want to miss out on a single acre, you know. But it's not healthy to have that
Yeah.
mentality. It's not. You can't sustain if you think that way. There's too many unknowns.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yep. Be willing to say no, but no, this is great. Any so advice that you would have for somebody who's young, wants to start a business, maybe not necessarily an application business or
uh-huh.
your type of business, but um hopefully, the listeners here are probably more of an ag based context, but what would you say? What would you recommend?
I would say, get to know your competition.
Okay.
There's going to be good competition and bad competition, and find the highest pillar of competition, somebody that you would want if that was your business, you know, and then follow their standards because it's working. Don't copy what they're doing. That's theirs, but follow their standards
Like
and
it. Yeah.
use your imagination, use your heart, and build your business based on those solid foundations of your competition.
Yeah.
That's I have a lot of friends that come and ask me, well, how did you start a business? And you just got to wing it. There's so much of it to just winging it. But if you just stay true to yourself and you stay true to those good standards, yeah, I believe that every business can work. Um, so that's my biggest advice. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but
I like it. No,
that's
I think that's really sound, Casey. I appreciate you sharing that. That
yeah.
is great. Do you, yeah, I mean, I think I kind of have a basic understanding of your belief pattern, but did do you believe that it's important that our business is a as a means of glorifying God and glorifying our Creator? What
Oh,
or
absolutely.
do we separate that in your mind? Just there's not a right or wrong answer. Just what do you?
Yeah, no, you know, I live in Utah and I can go down a huge long line and we could get into that someday. But no, I thank our Father in heaven every single day for not just for what I built, but for what I get to do for what He's built. Um, and we live in an amazing place, and it's up to us to be able to keep it nourished. I mean, that's kind of where I'm getting chills talking about it. That's really where my heart lies. Like, I really don't like spraying Roundup. I truly don't like spraying Roundup. Um, I don't like spraying 2,4-D. Certain instances, okay, sometimes you got to start clean, but then let's not do the same mistakes we've been doing for years and years and years. You know, we have to protect it. You look in any corner. I mean, maybe not where you're at, but look in any corner and there's alfalfa fields getting ripped up every single day to put a high-rise apartment to take the water for all those showers and bathrooms and to live, and we're depleting what we live on.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful that I get to do what I get to do and teach people about cover cropping and alternative methods that we're able to do with a drone that you can't do with a ground rig or plowing up your ground, or it's I love I love being able to educate people because grandpa did it one way and grandpa did great and he made a living doing it, but that's not how we still have to do it. you know every day we're learning something new and we should implement what we or input what we learn. um
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you for
So
sharing. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. I share your belief there also that, businesses, whatever type of business it is, but I think especially in agriculture, because we're so tied to the creations of the creator, I
yeah,
think it makes us more aware that, hey, we are here for a purpose and a reason, and we're given stewardship, and we carry that responsibility with hopefully with integrity and with purpose, and we feel the weight of it too, right? That
yeah,
these decisions that we make right now can affect generations to come, and so we need to be conscientious. And certainly, there's lots of um, reasons to not spray chemicals and to go the biological route. But we're not there yet.
yeah,
Like let's point ourselves in that direction. Let's work in that direction and make
right.
strides to do
And
that.
that's what I mean is we have a mess to clean up that's been left,
Mhm.
for us. And in those circumstances, noxious weeds, those are a real thing,
Mhm.
and they will take over. And for a rancher that's trying to get the best pasture he can, well, he can't without, first addressing what the initial problem is. Let's take care of that problem and then let's move forward and build on better practices to help mitigate these things. A shovel goes a long ways. It
Yeah.
really does. Yep. But we've got so used to sitting in a tractor seat that nobody wants to go kick a spade anymore.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, yeah, we farm the ground, but we're very disconnected from it. And as
yeah,
grazers, I think we're maybe a little bit more connected, but a lot of times, we're pretty oblivious. We might look at the cows, but
yeah,
we might look at the grass. Do we ever look down? And it took me a long time to realize that,
uh-huh,
hey, there's this whole world living beneath our feet that I was oblivious to. Right. I mean, I was a rancher.
right,
I was a cowman, a cowboy. And now that kind of transitioned to being a grass farmer to being a microbe farmer. And
uh-huh,
like this is our real responsibility, right? This is our workforce. And if we nurture them, they're going to take good care of us. But if we continue to disregard
absolutely,
that life, then we'll continue to deal with the symptoms, the weeds, the bare ground, the annual
yeah,
things that we don't want.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
have
just-
you seen anything on the beneficial bugs?
yeah.
So you know about beneficial bugs, but
Yeah.
you can to help fight insecticides or disease in the plant. That you can now buy bugs in bulk, load them into the drone, and go spread bugs. So that's something. Like I said, I have huge visions and directions I want to go, and at some point I have to just slow down and be able to, practice what I preach, basically, and
Yeah.
put those inputs into my own business and start going that way.
So
But
when you're saying bugs, are you talking like the microbiology?
yeah,
Or are you talking like
yeah. So both. So microbiology or ladybugs, for instance.
oh, sure.
Ladybugs will fight aphids, right? And so you can go and fight aphids now without an insecticide. You're actually adding more bugs, beneficial bugs, to your crops, and we can throw that
Yeah.
in the drone, and we can applicate ladybugs. So,
And they
I mean, there's
survive.
a whole bunch of yeah. There's a ton of different options, when it comes to beneficial bugs. But I use that as an example because everybody knows what a ladybug is, and probably anybody that grows alfalfa knows what an aphid is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That is pretty awesome.
yeah,
I think, yeah. That's what's exciting to me. Catherine asked the question, what was the question? Is there anybody farming without chemicals, or what was that, Catherine? Are you working with any clients that aren't using chemicals on their land? I think was a
yeah.
question.
So we've done some organic projects. It's really hard because we have to prove that we've gotten basically everything out of our drone because it's the same drone that 2 weeks ago did Roundup, but we're
Sure.
very thorough in cleaning our equipment. Typically, we won't run it through our tanks on the truck. They'll have a separate tank that we can just run to the drone. We just set up a battery powered pump. But yes, there's this biological that we get from Valley Ag. We use it as an insecticide. We use it as a fertilizer, and basically a soil booster. So we've applied a lot of it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
then as far as like seed goes, I worked in the seed industry an extremely long time. And as far as organic seed goes, personally, I don't buy the hype of organic seed. Um, but I also don't buy the hype on the coated seed. I like raw seed, either conventional or organic. If the organic seed tests as good as a conventional seed, then I'm all about it. But strictly organic seed to me is just a way to pay for more expensive seed, in my opinion. So, but I don't love coated seed. Have you like coated seed versus raw seed?
I guess it depends on what it's coated with, and maybe this Scott, if you're there, if you want to unmute and tell a little bit about like Ken Hamilton's program, and so we've done some experimenting, and I'm not the best at running trials, but some of the seed that we've used is actually coated with minerals, and so that makes sense to me. That when that seed's trying to germinate, if it has everything that it needs right there within touch, then you're going to get better germination and better production. And I think so in that sense, coating it with like a fungicide or that probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense here. So I don't know. Is that kind of where you
just another? Yeah, basically, you can get alfalfa seed that's coated so that it goes through a drill easier. I don't buy it. I think it's just a way for the seed companies to make more money, or I don't know. It's a whole nother discussion, really. But
sure.
Yeah, I do like you're saying, like if it's coated in a good mineral, then absolutely anything like that, yes. But seed's getting weird.
Yeah,
it's getting really weird. Yeah,
I think at the point that it started to be patented and trademarked and things like that, then it's like, okay, we might be playing God here just a little bit too much.
Yeah,
let's step back.
100%.
But
yeah.
Let's see. There was another question here. This from Wayne. What's the furthest away that you would drive to do a job? I mean, what? Probably a lot of variables, right? How big the job is, and
A ton of variables.
Right?
Yeah. So where I live, I choose to drive. To go do 50 acres, I'm willing to drive, an hour and a half, 2 hours to hit 50 acres, because I provided the business, but I chose to live where I live. So it's kind of my duty to be able to fulfill my promise of the service I'm doing. But outside of that, acreage is a huge one. You got to find out what your bottom line is, and because you can't lose money or else you won't be in business. So I would just say, as long as you're making money, then it's up to you how far you want to drive, how far you want to be away from home, how many miles you want to put on your truck. I mean, you get into business and there's a lot: tires, oil changes, maintenance, There's
a lot of logistical factors that people aren't considering, it sounds like.
Right. And I mean, even down to how many times you're going to have to stop and pee. And then when you pee, you're going to get another drink or a candy bar, or, so take that into account.
Yeah. That's cool. Okay. So those of you that listen to our podcast before, you guys know that I'm a huge Benjamin Hardy, Dan Sullivan fan. They wrote a book called 10X is easier than 2X. So the thesis of this book is that if we're gonna 2X, if we're gonna double something, double our revenue, double our production, whatever it is that we're measuring, that's going to take twice as much effort. But if we're going to 10X, it's actually going to be easier than just doubling our effort, because we're going to have to do things from a different paradigm, a different mindset. We'll probably have to delegate some things. We're going to have to say no to a lot of things if we're going to actually truly 10X. And so,
yes.
How would your business, what would your business look like if it was 10X? 10X. And we could say different, right? Sometimes 10X smaller is what we need to shoot for. Like we might want to be, but let's say 10X more. Well, first quantify it with 10X. What would be different? Would it be 10X more acres, 10X more revenue, 10X the number of clients? What would be like the game changer for you?
The game changer for me would probably have that ideal, like 10X of the ideal customer.
Yeah.
That really aligns with where I want to go. That's 10Xing for me. And to have these growers basically being a crop advisor for 10X the customer base of what I have. Crop advising, I'm not necessarily finding more work. We're going start to finish, year round of a growing plan or raising plan. What's going to benefit your cows the very best? What's going to benefit your soils, your grasses that are coming? Let's throw some legumes in there. Let's throw some wildflowers in there. Let's help everything around. That would be my 10X, is if I could just find more customers that aligned with that way of thinking. That's 10X for me. Yeah.
So in turn, in doing that, then that would probably necessarily mean that you're going to have to say no to those clients that are not your ideal customer.
Correct.
You'll pass them along to your competition and say, it could be just their attitude or whatever, whatever it is, their number of acres or distance from home, or maybe at some point it's, this crew is strictly biological, and, we won't send them. We won't run chemical through this rig or whatever. So,
and that's I would love to have an organic rig and have those customers that there's kind of a weird separation, and it really bugs me. Organic people and conventional people, and it's like Democrats and Republicans. It's like they just sit and clash each other because one thinks they're better than another, and I just hate that. And if we could learn something from the organic guys, and the organic guys could learn something from the conventional guys, and kind of just have a compromise, it would be a much better place. I hate the conflict between the separation, because the conventional guy does think that he's doing the world a better place because he's raising crops, and he's and the organic guy will argue that no, you're poisoning the earth. And so I hate the divide right there. I really do. But I would love to be able to go more on the biological route. And I use the term organic, but I'm on both sides of that fence, but I don't judge one person versus the next, because I'm right there in the middle. I think there's some practices that need to be conventional, and I think there's a lot of practices that need to be organic. And that's the way I think, and that's the way I read a lot of situations, and that's my opinion, and nobody will change it. So
I like it. Well, that's great. I appreciate you sharing your thoughts, and it'd be neat to see what your business would look like at a 10X growth. And that's kind of a challenge for each of us to think about, okay, what does 10X different look like? 10X improvement look like for each of us? It's been a big focus for us this year, and So that's my challenge. Contemplate on that as you go listen to this podcast or watch this video or over the next week.
Yeah.
You take some notes. What would that look like? What do I need to say no to? What am I really clear on what my values are so that I don't go off the rails as I grow, which I think happens to a lot of companies, and so I can maintain the integrity as that growth happens. But well, Casey, this has been pretty awesome. I appreciate you taking time to visit with us today.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts that you have that you want to share with the live audience or those that are listening to the podcast?
Jared, I can't
Hey.
type in the text, but I got a couple questions if you got time still.
Yeah, let's have Scott ask a couple questions, and yeah, we'll get this on the recording.
First
Okay.
of all, and this isn't an important question, but I'm just wondering with the name of your company, if you happen to live next to a historical massacre site or something.
You know what? I live in the mountains. So Loa sits at 7,600 feet. And I am obsessed with mountain meadows. I love mountain meadows, big, lush grass. And so, yes, I live in Utah, and I'm about 2.5 hours away from the Mountain Meadow Massacre. But when I came up with this business name, that was not even a thought in my mind. But I have been reminded about it about once a week that I get that same question every time.
I just thought you might be able to. I would be fascinated to know more history if you knew. So my question is, do these drones have a camera? Can you see in real time so that you can see if you're sending the drone like in a rangeland scenario, let's say? So like up here, we've got associations that have like larkspur problems. Larkspur's kind of concentrated in draws and things. So I'm just thinking, man, you could, they've tried everything, sheep herding them and grazing different times and everything. And I thought this would be a really effective tool. Can you send a drone over a ridge or two and you can see in real time where you're at and what's going on?
Yes and no. There's two parts to this. Yes, the application drones have an actual FPV camera that you see in real time. To go 2 ridges over, you run the risk of losing connection with your drone, and you must maintain line of sight. That is a regulation from the FAA. You must maintain sight of your drone. There is exemptions to that. We could go down that. If you have more questions, feel free to reach out to me. There is exemptions that you can apply for. But the little drones, like these multispectral drones, you would want to send one of those because they have a much longer battery life. They do have a better camera, higher pixel camera. And then they actually can create the data of exactly pinpoint where that is. And then you take that data and you can plug it into the application drone and figure out how you're going to get there to where you don't have to fly it 2 ridges over. So, like for us, a lot of times we've actually built a skid for our side-by-side to where now I have a tank in my side-by-side. I can then put my drone and 5 batteries in my side-by-side. And it might take us all day to hit 10, 15 acres. But without that, how would you do it? You're not going to get an airplane to come do 10 acres. You're not going to get a helicopter to come do 10 acres. But you really want to eradicate larkspur. And so, yes, we have the means to do that. These drones are the perfect tool for that job.
Okay, one more quick question. What about reseeding after fires on BLM or forest? Are you guys or any of these other drone guys getting into that?
Yeah, so we did one through the winter. A lot of times what it takes us to get into where those fires are is it takes a lot of work. And I'm not willing to discount my application rate. Just because it's a lot of acres doesn't mean I'm going to make more money, right? If it's harder work to get there and I can't take on other acres because I'm doing these acres, these hard acres, then essentially I'm losing money. Where an airplane, although they won't be as precise, they can just buzz over it and dump the seed out. And that's really all the BLM expects it to be, is just kind of a mass seeding in these burn scars. So it's kind of two different things. These airplanes are able to do it cheaper, and that's bottom line what the BLM wants. They take the lowest bid every time.
Can I ask a question there on that? I am never going to deal with that out here on the East Coast. When you say it's harder to get in there, is that because of regulations or is that because of terrain?
No, terrain.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Good question. Yeah, well, thanks you guys. Thanks for your questions. This has been great. Yeah, very informative. And we appreciate you being part of this. Thanks for those who are listening. Thanks here live and those that are catching the replay. So Casey, tell us how people get a hold of you.
You can call me. That's the easiest. I'm usually on the road or lately I've been in the buggy. We got this cool buggy outfit that I've been running around in and helping guys out. So in Ensign Ranch, they had an influx of thistle in some areas that they couldn't get to. And so that's where I've been all week. But
Gotcha.
so yeah, call me is the easiest way. 435-616-1323. You can email me. I'm not the best at email, I'll be honest. It's just Casey, Casey, at Mountain abbreviated MTN Meadow Ag, so ag.com. And that's the website too, is mountainmeadowag.com.
Okay.
We do a lot on social media. You can just search. I do more on my personal Casey Seber account than I do on my Mountain Meadow Ag account, but you can get me on either one of those.
Very cool. Yeah, definitely check him out. It's pretty fun to watch. See your pictures of drones flying and the cool stuff that you're doing. So that's awesome.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. I get asked all the time, how do you come up with the idea for your videos? I'm like, the drone. Now it's as cool as it gets. It makes its own video, you know. So
yeah. Thanks, Catherine, for putting that in the chat. If you guys that are on here live, just copy and paste it or tap on that, and that'll go to Casey's website. So, yep. All right. Well, everybody have a blessed rest of the day, and appreciate you being part of this group, and hope you can catch us next time. Ag Steward, we have a virtual summit. You'll be seeing this if you follow us on social media, primarily Facebook, a little bit on LinkedIn. But that's the 6th and 7th of August. So we got some pretty cool speakers like Alejandro Carrillo, Ray Archuleta, Keith Burns from Green Cover Seed, and a bunch more. I think Selena, my wife, is just finalizing the last 2 speakers today. So that'll be coming out. That's a free event. Check that out. And then we do these webinars on the 2nd and 4th Thursdays. So I think the 24th is the next one that we're going to do.